What's up, college sports fans? I'm Stucky.
I'm Colin Wilson.
I'm Mike Calabrese.
I'm Maria Marino.
I'm Charlie DiSturco, and we're excited that the Big Bets on Campus brand is launching its very own YouTube channel.
You'll be able to find every episode of the BBOC podcast, live shows, and other college sports content on this new channel.
Not only will the channel be dedicated to betting on college sports, but you'll also be able to find exclusive interviews with former college athletes,
college football power rankings,
and updates on other topics like the brand new College Football 25 video game series and the ins and outs of the recruiting trail all the way down to the transfer portal.
Whether you're into college football,
college basketball,
college baseball, or any of the college sports,
we are the home for college sports, and BBOC is the channel for you.
Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the action. I'll see you there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wondergoal, the soccer betting podcast from the Action Network, presented to you by Bet365. This is our second of two season preview episodes, a little bit shorter on this one. We're just going to look at the rest of Europe, give out some futures that we like in Serie A, La Liga, Bundesliga, Ligue 1. You know the drill by now. If you haven't listened to our Premier League preview with Sam Ingram, who's going to be joining us for every match week for the Premier League for the season, be sure to do that. We gave out a notebook's worth of bets. For this one, though, we're going to focus on the other of the five major European leagues. We'll start, BJ, with the Bundesliga, where Bayern Munich is a minus 200 favorite to win it. Bayer Leverkusen, who won it last year in a shock, are plus 250. Then it's Dortmund at 10-1, Leipzig 12-1, Stuttgart 40, Frankfurt, Gladbach in the triple digits, and that's where things just kind of get. There's no reason really to get that deep beyond there. Anything you like here in Germany in terms of futures? I have a couple or one that I like, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, let's talk title first, because this is the lowest that Bayern has been in, I think, maybe 2 decades in terms to actually win it. And listen, we talked about Leverkusen a lot last season. They had so many late winners, so much positive happened to them to almost pull off an invincible season. They did pull off an invincible season, obviously, in the Bundesliga. So being able to repeat that, I don't think it's very plausible. But I think that, purely just looking at a talent level, I think Bayern is obviously superior to Leverkusen. Tactical-wise, I'm very, very skeptical of Vincent Kompany. Very, very skeptical. As we saw in the Premier League last season with Burnley, I get that he didn't have a good enough squad to play his system, and I think a lot of people are going to make arguments to that. But he is somebody that resists change a lot, and he's very, very stern in what his tactics that he wants to do. And that might not matter against, when they play teams in the bottom half of the table of the Bundesliga. But what Xabi Alonso showed at Leverkusen is that, quite frankly, in my opinion, outside of Pep Guardiola, he's the best tactical manager in the world. And navigating the Bundesliga, and as well as navigating Europa League last season, he showed that he is very capable of having a squad that has a lot of depth and being able to be successful with that. There weren't really many key losses for Leverkusen in the summer. We thought that they might lose Frimpong, they might lose a couple other key guys, but instead they bring in Alexi Garcia from Girona, who was one of their most important players and somebody who can solidify their midfield, give them more depth. So I think there is an argument to be made that, not saying that Bayern shouldn't be the favorite, that maybe this should be a little closer than the odds suggest, but I'm not going to play Leverkusen at plus 250. I think the better bet right now, and listen, I get that they're due for a little bit of negative aggression. They're not going to get as lucky as they did before, but I think the best bet on them is minus 125 winner without Bayern. I believe comparatively them to Leipzig, who just lost Dani Olmo, to Dortmund, who's transitioning to Nuri Sahin as a manager. I think that from underlying data perspective, they were far, far superior than those two teams last season. And other than Stuttgart, I don't really see a team gate crashing seems to be the solidified top 4 right now. So I think minus 125 is kind of short. Probably should be closer to minus 150, minus 175. So I think Leverkusen, the one thing that I've kind of learned over the last few years of doing this job is yes, there are teams that are due for negative aggression, but also really, really good, astute tactical teams will always overperform their expected metrics and will always still be able to maintain the levels that they had the season prior. And Xabi Alonso definitely has that with Leverkusen this season. The other bet that I like in terms of relegation in the Bundesliga, Holstein Kiel, who is a newly promoted team, plus 110 to be relegated. The one thing that I've also learned from doing this from a long time is if you have bad underlying metrics in the second division, it's not going to bode well for you when you come up and play against the best teams. Only a plus 7.1 expected goal differential for Holstein Kiel in the second division of Germany last season. In terms of talent level per transfermarket.com, only a 32 million total squad value. That's the lowest in the Bundesliga this season. Tactically, they are a versatile team in possession. They will play in transition, which is a good thing. You know, teams that are coming up who hold a lot of possession tend to not do as well. They like to press high, which everybody does in the Bundesliga, so that doesn't really matter. But having a squad of this low of talent level and bad expected metrics, it's the same thing that happened to Darmstadt last season. So I think Holstein Kiel could be in a very similar vein. So those are the two bets I like for the Bundesliga. I also don't hate Stuttgart at plus money to finish in the top four. You know, it just came out a day ago that Dennis Undav, that they've reached an agreement with Brighton, that he's going to be their main striker, which is a really good thing because I know Girassi left for Dortmund, but Undav had around a 0.8 XG per 90-minute scoring rate. He's like a really good striker that they kind of need. They did lose two key defensive guys that they need to replace, and obviously navigating the Champions League is a little bit tough, but comparatively to what Dortmund and Leipzig are right now, I'm not sure the gap between Stuttgart, who had better expected metrics than both those teams last season, is really as wide as the odds are suggesting. So if there's three bets for you, Stuttgart top four, Holstein Kiel to be relegated, and Leverkusen went without Bayern, minus 125.
Yeah, it's really hard to find too much here to get into like long shots wise. The one player I'm a little interested in is Musiala in the Golden Boot race, and he'd have to make a huge jump. And you're basically betting that Harry Kane isn't fit to play a full season, and I don't know if he will be. Like he's getting up there. They're playing across Europe. He just played the Euros. He wasn't fit and firing for that. He was coming off after 60 minutes, so they'll probably manage him quite a bit. But still, like you're asking a pretty big jump from Musiala, who I just think is about to have his like biggest year. He's about to really just like break out. So I 50-1. It's not like the best bet, but it's something that I wanted to come up with for a long shot. I mean, if you wanted to go a little bit higher up, I think Benjamin Šeško for Leipzig is also interesting. And
yeah, he is. He's interesting. Yeah. Him and Openda up top. The Golden Boot race is like interesting because if you just look at this, like just purely look at the odds, it's just all guys from Dortmund, Bayern, Leverkusen.
Right.
Like there's nothing. So Undav has not been posted yet.
Right.
On those, I would be interested to see his number. Because again, last season, 0.65 XG per 90 minutes scoring rate, scored 18 goals in only 23.2 90s. So he is somebody that I would be very, very interested in terms of who can match Harry Kane's production in case Harry Kane maybe, like you said, misses some time due to injury. If I had to pick one guy, yeah, it would be Šeško, who's set to make that leap, and then Undav would be another one that I would look at for Golden Boot once he gets posted. Probably anything he would need to probably be 35-1 or longer for me to be interested in it, but there's a couple for you.
La Liga up next. Real Madrid is odds on. They are prohibitive, minus 250 favorite. You might have heard that Kylian Mbappe is now there. They are. Here's the thing. Like I think the markets overreact to those kind of situations, but with Madrid and their manager Carlo Ancelotti, who's just proven to be just an expert at managing these kind of super teams, like there's just nobody you'd rather have in charge of a team with Mbappe and Bellingham, etc., Vinny Jr. Than Ancelotti. So it's hard to go against them. But if you're looking at Barcelona plus 350. Atletico Madrid is 10-1, Girona is 20-1, Real Sociedad is 25-1, Athletic Bilbao is 25-1 as well, and Real Betis is 40-1. No real reason to get further than that. Anything you see here, BJ, in Spain, it's really hard to go against Real Madrid, and if you're looking at Barcelona, who's not a long enough price with Hansi Flick in charge, but.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Yeah, with Hansi Flick in charge, I don't. We saw him at Bayern, and what we saw is that he's way, and even with the German national team, is that he's just way too aggressive out of possession with what he likes to do. You know, the high line, man-to-man marking, which, you know, in this type of league can work, but you know, you're also going to face a lot of teams that like to play in transition and play balls over the top. So I think there's a little bit of question marks surrounding Barcelona. Obviously, the financial situation as well. We don't know. You know, if something happens to the middle of the season, they have to sell off players. Hopefully, that's not the case. But for me, you know, if you wanted to bet somebody to gate crash, I think Atletico Madrid has a decent shot at 10-1. With the summer signings they made, Lenormand coming in from Real Sociedad, Julian Alvarez from Manchester City, Alexander Sorloth from Villarreal. Those are really, really good signings and good business from Atletico Madrid, who can kind of, I think now, close the gap between them and Barcelona. But really the bet that I like for Atletico Madrid, it's kind of similar to Leverkusen. Winner without Bayern and Real Madrid. Atletico Madrid is minus 125. Outside of the team I'm about to talk about next, I don't think that there's any team that can even come close to Atletico Madrid in terms of this market. Like I said, the signings that they made, the underlying metrics that they had last season, very clearly the third best team in terms of expected goal differential. Nobody really came close to them. Even Girona, who drastically overperformed last season and is going to see some regression now that Dovbyk and Alexi Garcia are gone and have to navigate the Champions League as well. I think Atletico Madrid is in the best possible position to really challenge both Barcelona and Real Madrid and easily finish. It would be in third place or maybe even second. The other bet that I like, Athletic Bilbao plus 187 for top four. Like I already mentioned with Girona losing two of their key players, Sociedad is just falling apart at the seams right now, it seems, with Lenormand leaving. Now it looks like Zubamendi's going to be leaving for Liverpool. Moreno might be leaving for Arsenal. And Sociedad's not really standing in the way of letting all those players go. That's the spine of your team, which is just gone. And you have really nothing left. And if you look at all the other teams, I don't think there's really a team that matched Bilbao in terms of their underlying metrics. The Williams brothers don't seem to be going anywhere right now. It should be the same attack for Athletic Bilbao, same manager. We know that this is one of the best out of possession teams in La Liga. So over the course of the season, I mean, I think Bilbao is in probably the best position of anybody near the top half of the table. So at plus 187, I don't really agree with them being the same price as both Girona and Real Sociedad, given what those two teams have lost. So I like them for top four. Relegation's not that fun in La Liga. The clear and obvious team to be relegated would be Las Palmas, who had the worst expected goal differential of anybody in La Liga last season, but they're the favorite to be relegated. So that's not so fun. So for me, it would be those two would be my favorite bets. Also, just going to say it, Vinny Jr. 10-1 for Golden Boot is kind of interesting to me. I don't think that, you know, Mbappe should be the obvious favorite. He'll score a ton of goals, but all three of those guys, him and, you know, Rodrigo as well, they're going to get their opportunities and they're going to get their shots. So, and if teams decide to, you know, key in on Mbappe, like, well, that leaves a lot of space out wide for them to him and Rodrigo to get in 1v1s. And Vinny Jr. put up really good numbers last year. So I don't hate that at 10-1 either for Golden Boot.
Yeah, I think that the Golden Boot market in La Liga is actually a really good way to find value because of how much Mbappe is sucking up. He's minus 175 to win it, but he's going to have to share the spoils. Vinny Jr., Bellingham scored close to 20 last year in La Liga. Rodrigo, there's just too much talent here, so Mbappe is the most likely guy to win it, but the total number of goals, like there's a cap on it because of what he'll have to spread around. And then Robert Lewandowski's a second favorite, and he's old. He got to 19 last year. That's the same as Bellingham. He finished third behind Dovbyk and Sorloth. So I think Sorloth at 16-1 is interesting. I actually don't hate Nico Williams at 50-1, whether he moves to Barcelona or not. I don't think he's going to, but he like Musiala, he'd have to take a pretty big jump. The other guy that I think is absolutely worth betting in this market at 40-1 is Antoine Griezmann. He scored 16 last year for Atleti, but he's part of the furniture there. And if he gets to 25 goals, would anybody be surprised?
No.
I don't think so. And I think that's the number that you're looking at. Like if you can get 20, if you get to 20, you're going to be in the race, given how things are going to be spread out at the top here.
Yeah, one thing I will also mention in terms of shots per 90, nobody had more than Rafinha last year in La
Yeah,
Liga,
he's
which is kind of interesting. But then again, you're like, he also starts on the right, and that's where Yamal starts. So
Yeah.
you also question, like, all right, is he actually going to be able to get the necessary amount of production out there? Another one for top assists, I think, is Ike Gundogan is another one who was close to being at the top of La Liga in terms of expected assists. He's in the double digits in terms of odds. So he's kind of interesting. It doesn't look like he's going to leave Barcelona. They just signed Dani Olmo though. So it's like, all right, now does he play over him? So Barcelona, it's kind of a mess if we're being honest, like in terms of actually betting anybody on Barcelona, because I don't really know who's going to play, if I'm being honest. Now I'd hope that Gundogan with his German connection with Hansi Flick would actually play, but then you bring in Olmo, who's been playing in the Bundesliga forever. It's just kind of hard to see who plays and who doesn't.
Okay, let's go into Serie A. Inter minus 167 to do it again. Juve is second favorites plus 350. Milan 7-1. Napoli under Antonio Conte also right there at 7-1. Atalanta 22-1. Roma is 28-1. I thought Atalanta maybe was a little interesting, but Scamacca is hurt now. Takes a little bit of bite off of them. What do you think here? Is it just straightforward?
Yeah, in a sense. I think Inter is deserving to be the favorites. They obviously have won this league, I believe, 2 of the last 3 years. They obviously, like we've talked about, I think Inter's a way more interesting team to bet in the Champions League than to bet in Serie A right now in terms of their price. We know they're one of the best out of possession teams in the world. They're a very good tournament team, and they've been very good in Serie A for a long time. If anybody was going to gate crash them, I think Juventus is super interesting. I don't know if I want to pay plus 350 on them, though. Honestly, that's a really, really short price. With Thiago Motta coming over, we saw how good his in possession stuff was at Bologna in terms of buildup. He's kind of remade the squad a little bit. He brought in Douglas Luiz, who's like a really, really good player to play his system. Kupa Menners, it looks like, might be coming over from Atalanta to Juventus as well. So they've done a lot of really good business this summer that makes me think that they can now have reached the level of Inter. I just need to see it first before I can actually, pay plus 350. So I think the better bet with Juventus is plus 175 winner without Inter, because I think that there's very clearly, from a talent perspective, that they are better than the rest of the field, and from a tactical perspective now are better than the rest of the field now that Allegri is gone. We know that this was one of the best defensive teams. Mata's Bologna was really, really good defensively as well, playing in a low block. So that's not really going to change for Juventus. They're still going to be a very, very good, low block defensive team. So I think plus 175 is a decent price on Juventus to be the winner, or essentially finish in second place behind Inter. The other couple bets that I like, Roma top 4 at 2-1. Francisco Totti did a really good job towards the end of last season with Roma, kind of transitioned them from Mourinho, kept the same good defensive quality structures, but turned them into a team that can control matches more, which is really good in Serie A when you're facing a ton of teams that aren't really going to press you at all, especially teams in the bottom half of the table. You want to be able to control matches. So I think that's a good thing, and it leads Roma into a better place. The business they've done as well, bringing in Dovbyk, Mateus Sule, they've made their attack a lot better. So I think that Roma at 2-1 is, if you're looking at somebody in that pack to finish in the top 4, which Serie A top 4 is going to be a really, really heated race this season. I think Roma's in a well position there at 2-1. And for relegation, a little bit of a long shot here. Monza 10-1 to be relegated. Palladino, their manager, who has been innovative in terms of molding Monza into this team that is able to control possession, is able to build out of the back, and is able to be successful with it. He is now at Fiorentina. Alessandro Nesta is now the manager. He's never managed in Serie A. He's only been managing in the lower levels of Italian football. And I'm not so sure that he's the right manager for this team that severely underperformed last season. Last season, minus 16.1 expected goal differential for Monza. They just sold their goalkeeper, I'm going to butcher this name. I apologize. Di Gregorio, who is now, I believe, over with Juventus. Monza, again, third worst expected goal differential in Serie A last season. Their goalkeeper was a big part of that. He had one of the best post-shot XG plus minuses in the league at plus 10.4 last year. So they haven't really replaced him either. So I think that Monza has real potential to crater here. And, they're also 33-1 to finish bottom, which I don't hate that price either. The three teams that are coming up, what people may not know is that the barrier to entry to Serie A is about as low as any of the top 5 leagues. Like, it's very easy to get in and stay up, as opposed to like the Premier League or even the Bundesliga for that matter. So the three teams that are coming up have money. They're able to spend it. Cesc Fabregas also going to be managing Como this year, which will be a lot of fun. I think Monza has real potential here to crater. So I like them to be relegated at 10-1.
All right, we'll wrap up with Ligue 1, where, Mbappe's gone, but PSG is still a prohibitive favorite to win it, -334. Marseille, 12-1. Monaco, 14-1. Lille, 16-1. Lens is 18-1. Lyon, 20-1. Nice, 28-1. Rennes, 33. Stade de Brest is 50-1. We'll turn it over to you. Is there any chance that anyone can steal this one from PSG?
Maybe De Zerbi. Maybe. He's back. He's with Marseille now. The problem is coming into this market, before even looking at the markets, Marseille was a team that severely underperformed last season, had the second best expected goal differential in Ligue 1. When they were under Gattuso, who is a very similar manager to that of De Zerbi in terms of controlling possession, being aggressive out of possession with the pressing, Marseille was actually really, really good. But obviously bad results got him fired. He's obviously a very divisive character. So when bad results are happening, and, Marseille is a club that is the second biggest club in France. Let's just say fireworks is what comes to mind with Marseille and their fans, and what happens with their managers. So De Zerbi could be like a folk hero there, or he could be out of there midway through the season. Who's to say? But they're the second favorites, and they're deserving to be. So it's kind of hard to bet on a second favorite here. For me, after Marseille, there's just like this pack of teams that you can't really separate much from. They all had around kind of the similar, underlying metrics last season. But the one team that I kind of like is Lens. They're plus 350 to finish in the top 3. Again, in France, you have to finish in the top 3 to qualify for the Champions League. Third spot, you have to go through qualification. But in any case, I think Lens has a decent chance. Will Still, former Reims manager, is now their manager. Things kind of got stale under Frank Haas, who's now at Nice. What we know about Still is that he, from a tactical perspective, especially managing in France, is that he is really, really, really good. He's the one who turned Florian Balogun into that great season when he was on loan at Reims. He has a similar striker in Eli Wahi now, who didn't perform well last season, coming over at high price from Montpellier, but he'll have a really good striker. He has a really solid center back pairing. He's a really good goalkeeper in Bryce Samba, and he can turn his team and be very versatile, whether they want to build out of the back end possession or be a team that plays in transition. Lens last season was just kind of a team that played in transition, that just sent in a bunch of crosses, and that was kind of it. And they were kind of successful with that for many years. But to get into the top 3 and to be sustainable up there, at least, you need to be able to control matches, and you need to be able to be versatile in terms of your tactics. So I think Lens at plus 350, again, all these teams from Nice to Rennes to from Lyon, all of them kind of just had the same expected metrics. And even looking at, transfermarket.com, like all of these teams, including Monaco, all just kind of have the similar, total squad value. So it's kind of just picking somebody out of the pack, and Lens is near the bottom in terms of the odds there. So I kind of like them at plus 350. In terms of relegation, I don't really want to tie up my money on something that's plus 375 for the entire season. But if you want to, Angers, who comes up from the second division, had really bad underlying metrics there, has the lowest squad value of anybody in Ligue 1. So in terms of relegation, they're the favorite, and they're deserving to be, and maybe they should be closer to minus money. So if you want something with France, those are my two bets: Lens plus 350 and lean on Angers plus 137 to be relegated.
All right, that sets us up for the season to come. We already did a deep dive in the Premier League. Now you got some bets across Serie A, La Liga, Bundesliga, Ligue 1. And of course, we'll be back later in the week to do our match week 1 preview for the Premier League. So another season about to get underway here at Wondergoal, presented by Bet365. For BJ, I'm Michael. Best of luck with all your futures for this coming season.